It was supposed to be a peaceful Sunday morning in the quiet cul-de-sac of Willow Creek. Birds chirped in the trees, children rode their bikes, and the smell of fresh coffee filled the air. Inside one of the small but well-kept homes, Malcolm Carter was finishing breakfast with his wife, Amara, and their 6-year-old daughter, Naomi. Malcolm was a man who carried himself with calm dignity. Few knew his past, fewer still knew the battles he had fought. To his neighbors, he was just another hard-working man. A mechanic who always offered a smile and a helping hand. Only Amara knew the truth. Malcolm had once served as a Navy SEAL, trained for the hardest missions, the kind of man who could dismantle chaos with a single move. But today, he was just a husband, enjoying pancakes with his family. That's when it started. A loud knock rattled the door. Naomi flinched, dropping her fork. Amara opened the door cautiously and froze. 2 men in cheap uniforms stood there, badges glinting under the sun. The patches read HOA Enforcement Police, but something felt off. Their boots were scuffed, their belts mismatched, and their tone was all wrong. "Your trash cans were left out too long," one barked. "That's a violation. Step outside." Amara frowned. "Trash cans? We put them back yesterday." The man smirked. "Don't argue with us. We're HOA police. When we say you broke the rules, you broke the rules." Amara's instinct told her these weren't real officers. "I'll need to see proper identification," she said firmly. That's when it happened. One of the men's faces twisted with anger. Without warning, he raised his hand and slapped Amara across the face so hard she stumbled against the doorframe. Naomi screamed. The sound tore through the house like glass shattering. Malcolm was up in an instant. The fork in his hand clattered to the floor as his eyes locked on the men outside. The intruders had no idea what storm they had just unleashed. Because Malcolm Carter wasn't just a mechanic. He wasn't just a husband. He was a warrior. A man who had stared down enemies in deserts and jungles, who had fought for the dignity of strangers across the globe. And now, that same fire was ignited in defense of the woman he loved. He stepped onto the porch, his expression calm but deadly. "You just put your hands on my wife," the fake officer sneered. "And what are you going to do about it?" Malcolm's voice dropped to a tone colder than steel. "You're about to find out." The moment stretched like a taut wire. The fake HOA cops laughed, mistaking Malcolm's silence for fear. But Amara knew better. She saw the shift in her husband's stance, the tightening of his jaw, the calm in his eyes that only came when he was preparing for battle. "Go back inside, Amara," Malcolm said softly, never breaking eye contact with the men. "But Malcolm, take Naomi. Now." Amara obeyed, scooping up her terrified daughter and retreating inside. She locked the door, her heart pounding, but part of her knew. The men outside had no idea who they had just challenged. The first fake cop lunged forward, shoving Malcolm's chest. "Last warning, boy. You mess with HOA police, you'll regret it." That was the last shove he ever made. In one fluid motion, Malcolm grabbed the man's wrist, twisted it behind his back, and slammed him against the porch railing. The crack of bone echoed. The second man charged, swinging wildly, but Malcolm ducked, drove his elbow into the man's ribs, and sent him sprawling across the lawn. "Who sent you?" Malcolm demanded, pinning the first attacker to the ground. The man gritted his teeth, refusing to answer. The other scrambled for his belt, pulling a collapsible baton. But Malcolm moved faster. Years of training exploded into precision. A kick to the knee, a chop to the throat, and the man collapsed gasping for air. Within minutes, both men were on the ground, groaning, disarmed, humiliated. Amara peeked through the window, clutching Naomi, tears streaming down her face. Relief flooded her, but fear lingered. Who were these men really? Malcolm crouched, gripping the leader by the collar. "You're not HOA. You're thugs playing dress-up. Now tell me, who sent you?" The man cracked under the weight of Malcolm's stare. It was Karen Doyle, the HOA president. "She told us to scare you. Said people like you don't belong in this neighborhood." The words burned hotter than any slap. Amara's cheek still stung, But now the truth stung even more. They weren't attacked for trash cans. They were attacked for who they were. Malcolm tied the men with extension cords from the garage, then called his old contact at the sheriff's department. Within 20 minutes, real police were there, taking the imposters into custody. But Malcolm didn't stop there. He walked straight to the HOA office, Amara at his side, Naomi clutching her mother's hand. Karen Doyle sat behind a polished desk, sipping coffee, her fake smile fading when she saw him. "You think you can send men to put their hands on my wife?" Malcolm's voice thundered through the room. "You think you can scare us out of here?" Karen's hands shook. I don't know what you're talking about." But Malcolm slammed the stolen badges onto her desk. "Save it. They already confessed." By the next morning, Karen Doyle's empire of control collapsed. News outlets swarmed, exposing her corruption, her lies, her use of hired thugs to bully homeowners. She was arrested, disgraced, and forever barred from holding power again. As for Malcolm, he didn't bask in revenge. He only cared about one thing: his family's safety. That night, as Amara laid her head on his shoulder, she whispered, "You saved us." Malcolm kissed her forehead. "I'll always save you." And Naomi, now calm, reached over to hug her father tightly. She didn't fully understand what had happened, but she knew one thing. Her daddy was a hero, not just a Navy SEAL, not just a warrior, but the kind of man who fought not for medals but for love.